Sophia had always carried life as though it were a burden too heavy for her small shoulders. Each day was a delicate balancing act. Long hours at the office, the constant pressure to meet deadlines, caring for her younger brother Liam after school, paying the rent, and yet somehow trying to nurture the fragile fragments of her own dreams. She often wondered if she was simply moving through life like a ghost, present but unnoticed, a witness to the world rather than a participant. Her apartment, a modest space in an aging building, reflected her inner turmoil. Stacks of papers crowded the kitchen table, clothes hung in disarray, and yet amidst the chaos, there were signs of her resilience: a small vase of daisies on the counter, Liam's crayon drawings pinned haphazardly on the fridge, a worn-out notebook full of half-finished stories. These were reminders that she tried to hold on to something beautiful, even as the weight of life pressed relentlessly on her. That evening, after a day that had started with spilled coffee and ended with an angry client call, she stepped onto her balcony. The city stretched endlessly before her, a sprawling labyrinth of lights and noise, a reminder of both possibility and isolation. The sky was painted in shades of bruised purple and fiery orange, a fleeting masterpiece she had never had the patience to appreciate until now. She closed her eyes and let the cool wind brush against her face, whispering through the strands of hair that had escaped her messy bun. "God," she whispered, her voice trembling despite her attempt to sound steady. "If you're there, if anyone is listening, please just show me I matter. Just for a moment, I'm so tired of feeling invisible." For a long moment, nothing happened. Just the soft hum of traffic and the distant sirens, punctuated by Liam's laughter echoing faintly from inside the apartment. She sighed, feeling foolish. How could she expect the universe, or God, to intervene in the chaos of her ordinary life? And yet, she couldn't stop the plea from rising again, a desperate thread of hope clinging to her soul. Then something shifted. It started as a subtle warmth in her chest, gentle and almost imperceptible, like a candle flickering to life in a dark room. She opened her eyes, half expecting it to vanish, but it persisted. The world seemed to slow around her. The distant sounds of the city softened. The wind carried a richer, almost tangible presence, and for the first time in months, her breath felt like more than just air moving in and out. It felt like life itself, full of meaning, full of possibility. It was in that moment that the feeling reached her fully, an unmistakable sense of being seen. Not by friends, not by her colleagues, not by the strangers who passed her every day without a glance, but by something vast, unshakable, and utterly intimate. She felt as if a hand had pressed against her heart, not heavy, but reassuring, grounding her in a truth she had long forgotten. "I am here. I see you. I know you." Tears welled in her eyes, but they were not of sorrow, they were of release. A weight she had carried for years, though invisible to the world, seemed to lift, dissipating into the air around her. And with the tears came a realization that had been elusive for too long. She had been searching for validation in all the wrong places. Approval from others, recognition for her struggles, praise for her effort, these things could never reach the core of what she truly needed. What she needed was to feel, fully and without reservation, that she was enough exactly as she was. The words came not in sound but as a quiet, unwavering truth that seemed to settle in her chest. "The moment you were meant to feel is now. You are enough. You are loved beyond measure." Sophia blinked, trying to let it sink in. It seemed too simple, almost cruel in its simplicity, that after years of striving, after endless nights of doubt and worry, the answer had been a feeling rather than an achievement. She wanted to question it, to demand more proof, but her soul refused. It knew this was no ordinary sensation. This was a divine acknowledgement, a message that had waited for her patiently through every late night, every tear, every lonely walk home. Her mind began to wander, reflecting on the countless moments when she had almost given up. The day she thought she would lose her apartment to unpaid bills. The nights she had sat at her desk, staring at the blank page of her notebook, convinced she had nothing meaningful to offer the world. The countless times she had smiled through exhaustion, hiding the tremor of fear that threatened to undo her. And yet, through it all, here she was, still standing, still breathing, and now, finally, truly feeling. The balcony around her seemed to transform. The colors of the sunset deepened, more vivid than before. The wind carried not just air, but a presence she could feel in the marrow of her bones. She felt connected, not just to God, but to the universe in its entirety, to the birds flitting across the rooftops, to the distant lights of the city, to Liam playing quietly in the living room, to herself. Everything was connected, and yet, everything felt intensely personal, as though the universe had bent itself to whisper one undeniable truth directly to her heart. Sophia sank to her knees on the balcony, letting the cool concrete ground anchor her as the sensation deepened. She didn't understand why this moment had chosen her, or why it had arrived now, after so much struggle. But she understood the gift. The ability to pause, to recognize her worth, to finally allow herself to be held, even if only by the invisible, infinite. She imagined, with a trembling but growing hope, what it would mean to carry this feeling with her, not as a fleeting flicker, but as a lens through which to view the world. Perhaps tomorrow would still bring challenges. Perhaps the bills would still pile up, the office would still demand too much, and life would continue to feel heavy at times. But for the first time in years, she felt prepared. Prepared not by strength alone, but by the knowledge that she had been recognized, acknowledged, loved in a way that transcended circumstance. Sophia stayed on the balcony until the last light of the sun faded behind the horizon. The warmth in her chest remained, steady and comforting, and she whispered a quiet promise to herself. She would remember this feeling, hold on to it, and let it guide her through the uncertainty to come. In that simple, extraordinary moment, she realized something profoundly humbling. Life did not always need grand signs or miraculous events to affirm its meaning. Sometimes, it delivered exactly what was needed, a fleeting, perfect, divine moment of recognition, and asked only that it be felt. And Sophia felt it, completely, deeply, without reservation. The next morning, Sophia awoke with a strange and unfamiliar lightness. For the first time in years, she felt the heaviness that usually greeted her upon opening her eyes had lifted. She lingered for a moment under the warm embrace of her blankets, listening to the quiet hum of the city beyond her window. There was no extraordinary noise, no divine voice proclaiming her worth, just a calm, steady presence in her chest that whispered, "You are enough. You are seen. You are loved." She rose slowly, moving through her small apartment with deliberate care. Even the mundane tasks of morning seemed different. As she boiled water for coffee, she noticed the sunlight spilling across her kitchen floor, illuminating the dust motes dancing lazily in the air. It felt almost sacred, as if the universe itself had paused to bless the ordinary, to remind her that even the smallest details could carry meaning. Liam ran past her, giggling as he chased his own shadow, and Sophia felt a warmth swell in her chest. She realized she had been missing these moments, not because they weren't beautiful, but because she hadn't truly been present to feel them. Walking to work, Sophia felt the city in a way she never had before. Each step resonated beneath her feet. She noticed the rhythm of life all around her. A man helping a woman carry groceries across the street, a child's laughter echoing from a nearby playground, the smell of fresh bread drifting from a corner bakery. It was as if she had been given new eyes, capable of seeing the extraordinary woven into the ordinary. Every interaction, every detail, seemed infused with intention, as though the world itself had shifted to remind her of the beauty and significance of life. At the office, things didn't change dramatically. Deadlines still loomed, emails still demanded responses, and the endless hum of corporate life persisted. But Sophia's perspective had changed. She no longer felt crushed by the weight of her responsibilities. Instead, she approached her tasks with a quiet confidence, a sense of presence that allowed her to respond rather than react. When a colleague criticized her work, she felt the old panic rising, but she reminded herself of the warmth she had felt the night before, and it anchored her. She took a deep breath, considered the feedback, and responded calmly, thoughtfully. During her lunch break, she stepped outside to the small courtyard behind the building. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of fallen leaves and rain from earlier in the morning. She sat on a bench, closed her eyes, and allowed herself to simply breathe. She realized that this ability to pause and feel, to notice and embrace life, was a gift she had been given. And it was not a fleeting gift, it was something she could return to, anytime she chose, by opening her heart fully to the moment she was in. That afternoon, her phone buzzed with a message she did not expect. It was from an old friend, someone she hadn't spoken to in months. "Hey, I was thinking about you today. Hope you're okay." For a brief moment, She hesitated, unsure if she wanted to respond. But something inside her urged her to engage with the message, not out of obligation, but from a genuine place of connection. She typed back a few simple words, "I'm okay. It's nice to hear from you." And in that exchange, she felt a ripple of warmth, a quiet affirmation that even small gestures of acknowledgement could carry profound meaning. As the days passed, Sophia began to notice a pattern. The more she allowed herself to be present, the more the world responded in kind. She found joy in simple routines: the taste of her morning coffee, the gentle brush of sunlight against her skin, the laughter of Liam as they played together in the evening. Life had not changed dramatically. There were still challenges, still obstacles, but she had changed. Her perspective had shifted from one of constant striving and anxiety to one of openness and receptivity. One evening, as she walked home, she paused on the bridge overlooking the river. The water below reflected the city lights, shimmering like a field of stars. She leaned against the railing and closed her eyes, letting the memory of the night on her balcony return. The warmth in her chest, the undeniable sense of being seen and loved, it was still there, steady and unwavering. She realized that the moment she had been meant to feel was not just a single event, but a doorway to a new way of living. Sophia began to incorporate small rituals into her daily life to maintain this connection. She would start each day with a moment of gratitude, acknowledging the beauty around her and the life she had been given. She would pause during her workday, noticing the breath in her lungs, the strength in her hands, the simple miracle of being alive. She even started keeping a journal, not to document her struggles, but to capture the fleeting moments of joy and clarity that reminded her of the divine presence in everyday life. Her relationships began to transform as well. She found herself listening more deeply, speaking more honestly, and offering kindness without expectation. Friends and colleagues noticed a change in her, though she did not speak of the inner shift she had experienced. It was enough for her to feel it within herself, to know that the divine message she had received was guiding her interactions and her choices. One evening, Liam asked her, "Sophia, are you happy?" His young face, full of curiosity and innocence, looked up at her with an intensity that made her pause. She knelt down to his level and took his hands in hers. "I am," she said softly, feeling the truth of it resonate in her chest. "And I want you to feel happy too, every single day." He smiled, and in that smile, she recognized the power of what she had learned, that the moment she had been meant to feel could extend beyond her own heart. By embracing her worth and presence, she could ripple that feeling outward, touching the lives of those around her. She realized then that God's message was not just a comfort, it was an invitation to live fully, to embody love and presence in every action, every word, every choice. As weeks turned into months, Sophia continued to navigate the challenges of life. She faced setbacks, disappointments, and moments of doubt, but each time, she returned to that central truth. The moment she was meant to feel was always accessible, a wellspring of strength and affirmation. It was not dependent on external circumstances or the approval of others. It was a state of awareness, a connection to the divine thread running through her life. And so, Sophia moved forward with quiet confidence, her heart open, her mind clear, her spirit anchored in the certainty that she had been seen, known, and loved in a way that transcended all else. She walked through the world with a new presence, noticing the small miracles that had always existed but had gone unnoticed. She understood now that life itself was a message, a series of moments carefully arranged to remind her, and everyone who paused to feel, of the love that pervades all things. One night, as she stood on her balcony once more, looking out over the city lights, she whispered a quiet prayer of gratitude. The warmth returned, steady and unshakable. She knew that no matter what tomorrow brought, she had found something enduring, the ability to feel the moment she was meant to feel, fully and completely. And in that awareness, she felt a peace that could not be shaken, a joy that could not be diminished, and a love that would never abandon her.